for building, yeah. 16, now they're $3 million. And his partner, Mr. Smarty.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Everybody please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Township of Old Bridge Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting, May 16th, 2024. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Old Bridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting by primarily posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, the location, and the agenda of this meeting, by mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk, and also posting the agenda on the municipal website. Ms. Burchelli, could we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Andrews?
Present.
Ms. Chevalier?
Here.
Mr. Izzo?
Here.
Mr. Scogno?
Here.
Mr. Stoner?
Yeah.
Ms. Testaverde?
Here,
Chairman Sullivan?
Here. Just as a matter of a couple of housekeeping items, we're being televised on CATV 15 here in the township. Simultaneously, this is broadcast on YouTube Live. If you ever want to refer back to the meeting, you can go on YouTube and find the meeting. I don't anticipate we'll go overtime tonight. Normally, we stop at 10 for open public comments, but I don't think that will be happening this evening. If you are speaking tonight, when you come forward, please, there's two microphones on the table for the witnesses to speak. There's a button you'll see on them, and it's got to be green, otherwise we're not going to hear you. So just check that. They're directional microphones. As you can see, I'm speaking right into it. That's the way the TV will pick it up, and that's the way it gets broadcast. So I thank you for listening to me, and we look forward to the applications. First of all, we have a little business under item 3, and it's minutes. We have 3 of them, board members, so we'll take them in order. Minutes of April 8th, 2024. I hope everyone has had a chance to review them. Absent any commentary, I would ask someone to move them for adoption.
Chevalier will move it.
Is there a second?
Andrews, second.
Ms. Andrews seconds. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
yes,
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. Board members, the same as the minutes of April 18, 2024. Someone move that for adoption, please.
Andrews, move it.
Is there a second?
Second, Scogno?
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
yes,
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. The final one would be minutes of May 2nd, 2024. Someone move that, please.
Chevalier will move it.
Second, Scogno?
Moved in second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
yes,
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, that brings us to our applications for the evening. I'll make note that the first one on the agenda is not going to be heard this evening. I'll call it into the record, however. It's 79-2023Z. That's Barbara Robinson Ramirez. That's Block 12283, Lot 85, physical locations 85 Bennett Road. That's for a deck that is outside the side yard property line. That matter will not be heard this evening. If you're here on that matter, it's going to be posted on the agenda for August 15th. So that matter will not be heard this evening. There'll be no further notice on that. You can always check on our website for the upcoming agenda on any of the meetings. Moves us to our next one. It's 02-2024Z. It's Robert Wechtkus. I hope I said that right. It's in the R6 zone, block 15569, lot 105. The physical location's 1 Arden Court, requiring a C variance for, seeks to legitimize a previously installed 21 by 24 fabric canopy. Structure's been installed 6 foot from the property line where 10 minimum is required. The structure was also installed 0 foot from the dwelling where 3 foot minimum is required. Mr. Wechtkus, please come up, sir. You can be seated so you'll go on the record. Is that green? All right, would you state your name, and then the board attorney is going to swear you in.
Sure. Robert Wechtkus. Okay, can you just raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes,
Thank you. You can put your hand down.
thank you.
Sir, thank you for coming before the board. I know you have an application, and because we've been notified of I guess, a deficiency in the setbacks on your property for this. What I'm going to ask you to do, quite simply, you're not represented by anyone, right? And you don't have any other witnesses other than yourself?
No.
Okay, and do you have any physical pictures or anything you're going to show us? You didn't bring anything with you?
No.
Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is the who, what, whys, and why, and wherefore.
Sure.
So if you can explain to the board what's going on in your property, what did you do, how did you do it, why did you do it, et cetera. We may have some questions for you.
Sure.
We're going to go to the board, to the township professional, the zoning officer. He's going to explain to us why you require a variance for what you did. There may be some back and forth. At that point, I'm going to have to go to a public portion to see if there's anyone in the public that has any commentary, at which point, when I conclude that, I'm going to ask you if you want the board to take a vote. So it's a pretty simple procedure. And anyone else in the audience tonight, any of your other, they're all homeowner issues, it's basically going to be the same for everybody. So I'll repeat it later, but it's the who, what, whys, so when you make the presentation. So at your own pace, sir, why don't you tell us what's going on in your property?
I installed a pool in my backyard. I wanted to have some coverage of the sun, so I did install the canopy. The company I went to, I explained to them the situation, and basically they told me it was designed to the building code. At that point, I guess there wasn't a permit. I think this was during COVID. I guess there was a confusion, I guess, on the permit being applied for. And I had multiple, I wasn't trying to hide, I had, if you look at my my address, I had my for the pool, I had the permit for my, I had everything there. I wasn't trying to do anything. And I was under the impression that it was built to code. I guess the building code, I don't know about, but that's what I was told. And then after that, I just wanted to try to do the best thing I could to make it, you know, if there was, because I did make an adjustment afterwards, after it was built. They told me if I attached it to something on my house, that would solve one of the problems, but I guess it didn't solve the problem to the fence line. So, you know, it wasn't, all it is coverage in my backyard from the sun.
All right. Let me go to Mr. Holohan, and we'll hear what he has to say.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so he's requesting two variances, one for the rear yard property line where he's proposing 6 feet where 10 feet minimum is required, and then 0 feet from the principal dwelling where 3 feet is required. In the R6 zone, due to the size, anything over 200 square feet, that setback is increased from 3 feet to 10 feet minimum. So kind of a situation where if the structure was reduced in size, he may be able to fit it accordingly within the requirements. But due to the size, yes, he is deficient on that rear yard setback, and then also needs one for the 0 feet from the principal dwelling. That's all, Chair.
Okay. This is done on pipe, I would assume, or
Second?
how is it constructed?
It's kind of like your typical like Home Depot 10 by 10 fabric
Okay.
canopies, kind of similar to that. Just a little more intuitive when it comes to construction and how it's secured to the deck and the house.
But it's permanent, right?
Essentially, yes. Yep.
All right. I'm going to go to the board to see if they have any questions. I'll start on my left, Mr. Rizzo.
You started this project when? About
I believe it was 20.
Just speak into the
I'm
mic.
sorry, I believe it was 20.
2020? And it's covering a pool?
No, I have a pool, which is to the right, and this is probably 35 feet. The pool is on this side, and then the canopy is outside by sliding door.
If you look on that red highlighted area, that's the canopy. Pools, I
yeah,
think,
it's
off
right
to the
there.
other
Yep.
side.
It's basically, I have a concrete slab there, and that's covering the slab.
So it's enjoyment to get out of the sun?
Yes. For somebody who really doesn't like the sun, the pool is, when COVID happened, everybody went stir crazy in my family because we didn't do anything. not a sun person. Family is, and it was kind of more for me to maybe watch TV and watch my 12-year-old daughter and her friends in the pool.
Understood. Mr. Stoner? No, I don't have anything. No, sir. Mr. Scogno? Vice Chairman?
Nope.
Ms. Andrews?
This
Ms.
is
Test-
fabric canopy?
Yes.
Okay, because something on here said that it was a metal already built.
The frame is made of aluminum, I believe.
Do you take this down at all in the winter?
Just the fabric.
I mean, the fabric you take down in the winter?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not permanent.
No, it's not, well, it's,
The structure is, I understand.
yes, and that's the way it was explained to me, that it was a temporary, but then I guess after we didn't pass the first time around, I think they tried to enforce it, so it was permanent and it solved the problem.
Is this built so you couldn't move it, it doesn't collapse on its own, right?
Correct. It can't be, so
So it couldn't be brought in three foot?
it couldn't be.
Okay. Ms. Testaverde, did you have anything? No, sir. Okay. Counselor?
How is it attached to the ground? Is it like, is it,
There's footings and it's bolted. So in the corners, there's footings. They were dug 3 foot deep, and then in between, there's trusses too. And the two in the front have footings with concrete, and then everything down is bolted into the concrete.
all right, so is it fair to say that if you were to make this smaller, to maybe try to, because if it was smaller in size, you'd actually meet the rear setback, which would eliminate a variance. Is it fair to say that if you were to do that, you'd have to purchase a new structure, remove a footing, and put some new footings in order to accomplish that, right?
I would have to, and this is welded, I would have to reduce the whole structure and remove the footings and set the footings back.
Okay, so basically it would constitute a hardship in your opinion?
Yes.
C1?
Yep.
Be a new canopy, too.
Anything else you want to tell us at this point? Oh, go ahead.
Be a new canopy, too.
It would be a very expensive mistake.
Say the least.
Okay. Anybody else on the board before I go to the public? All right, I'm going to go to the public on this matter. This is number 02-2024Z, physical location 1 Arden Court. Does anyone here in the room wish to be heard on this matter? Please raise your hand or stand. All right, no one has. I'll close the public portion. I would assume you would like me to take a vote?
Please, sir.
In essence, this is it's two variances, right? It's the rear yard and the proximity to the house, right?
Exactly.
0 to the house and 6 from the rear property line where 10 is required. Would there be two different ones, Mr. Clancy?
They're both bulk, so we can do it as one vote.
Okay, so this is under C1 hardship. This would be, I guess, rather costly for you to make this repair, and we haven't heard any complaint from any of the neighbors, so I assume, how high is it in the air, by the way?
How high is it in the air?
Yeah.
I can stand over it, so I'm assuming it's maybe about 8 feet.
Okay, all right. Would someone be interested in moving this for the bulks, the C1?
Izzo.
Mr. Rizzo, go ahead. And Ms. Chevalier is the second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews? Yes. Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, it's always good to check with the township before you do projects, and that way it alleviates any problems later on.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. You don't need to apologize. I'm just giving verbal advice to everyone. So thank you for coming in, and best luck. Obviously, you get good usage out of it, right? Came in handy during 2020, I'm sure.
So far, so good.
All right, sir. Thank you very
I
much.
learned a lot, but thank you very much for
Okay.
your time. Bye-bye.
Good evening. Okay, the next matter is 07-2024Z, John Decor. This is R5, this is block 19, lot 474. 474 Brookside Avenue, Lawrence Harbor. This is for driveway and pavers. The applicant seeks to legitimize a driveway resurfacing and expansion, as well as a concrete and paver walkway. Driveway was installed 3 foot from the side property line where 5 foot minimum is required, as well as 0 from the rear yard property line where 5 foot is required. Concrete walkway was installed 0 from the side property line where 3-foot minimum is also required. Total improvements bring the minimum landscape area ratio to 3.79%, where 45% is required. Mr. Decor, come on up, sir. Is the lady with you going to testify as well? She's more than welcome to if she wants. No, it's okay. Okay. Same thing applies, sir. Just take a seat, state your name, board attorney will swear you in.
John D.
Push the button.
There you go.
And leave it.
Just leave it.
Now just leave it be. It'll stay.
John D.
No. Push the button and let it go.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
John Decor.
Thank you.
Can you raise your right hand, sir? Yes. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you.
Mr. Decor, you heard me explain to the gentleman ahead of you. We'd just like you to tell us the facts of what happened.
Yeah.
And we'll go to the township officer to find out why you're in violation.
Yeah, what happened was where my property's situated, my neighbor, if you're looking at my house, the neighbor to the right, their property is higher than mine. So like when it rains and stuff, eventually it accumulates on one side of the house. So I have a shed in the backyard, and every once in a while I have to go out and remove the dirt from the side of the shed. So I figured if I did the driveway all the way to the end of the property, I could take the shed and move it out of the mud and put it on the pavers. This way I'd have, I wouldn't have to worry about it rotting. And in front of the shed, I wanted to put just one of those tents that you get from Shelter Logic to cover my car to protect it. Because I don't know exactly when, about 4 or 5 years ago, I just came down here to see about having a garage built at a cement block. And it was almost, when I talked to the gentleman, it was in the other building. It was really, he said it'd probably be impossible to do because I'd have to get variances and make sure, I'm not in anybody else's, zoning site or whatever. So I said the best thing I could do to protect my car and to get the shed out. To be honest with you, I'm getting older. It's getting harder to do things. So I just wanted to make sure everything was done, just so I didn't have to worry about it. And that's why I went as far back as I did. And I didn't know you needed a permit to redo the driveway, so.
Okay.
That's
Do you have any
basically-
photos that you want to show us?
Yeah.
I see you have a packet there, so.
Yeah. I figured it would help.
Sure. You want to see these first? Right?
Yeah.
Board attorney's going to take a look at those before the board sees them.
Okay.
Yeah, you can come up, sir, right over
Walk
here.
right up to me. Yep.
Yep. Before, hold on, let him review them, and he'll ask questions if he has any.
Do you want to introduce all of these, sir?
Well, I just wanted to explain why I did it, and this way you have a better view of why I did it. As you can see where the concrete is.
Hold on.
Hold on, I don't think you're being picked up because you're not in front of a microphone.
Where I put the concrete along the fence there, it was to make sure that the pavers stayed locked in, where they wouldn't, create another tripping
He's
hazard.
just reviewing them for evidentiary value before the board can examine them. So just wait 1 second.
Okay, if you want to put them all in, we can put them all in if you'd like. I guess we got to mark them.
Are they just more of the same?
I mean, I think it's probably helpful for the board if they want to scan through them, only because he took the time to include some
Yeah, sure.
reference points in there, which may be helpful.
I have 21. Does that sound right? It looks like 21?
Yeah, approximately. I really
Maybe 1
didn't
through
count.
21 will make them.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to show you that if I would have just not do the grass part, I had 3 people almost get hurt. my girlfriend slipped one time and almost hurt her ankle. There was trees along the side of the property, and the roots, it was on my neighbor's side, the trees, and the roots actually ripped up the driveway. So I had to have all the roots removed to take it out because I didn't want to make a tripping hazard no more. And I wanted to make sure that the concrete would hold the pavers in place. Anytime you went to back in order to pull into the driveway, if you wanted to open the door, you had to put the passenger side wheels on the grass in order to open the door so you didn't hit the house, you know? So that's why I had to do it that way.
What's that?
That, I wanted to just show, that was about a month and a half after that was on the other side of the house. What happened?
Opposite side, right?
Yeah, what happened was, I have to explain it to you. When I went to buy the pavers, there was a place on Hernston Road I bought them from, but I didn't know that if you use any of the off the pallet, if you didn't use the whole pallet, you can't take it, they don't take it back. You'd have to buy like 4 pallets, and then if you needed like 4.5, you'd have to buy half a pallet. If you used any of the pavers off of that pallet, they don't take it back. So I'm like, well, what do I do with all these? You know, I didn't know what to do. So the gentleman that was actually doing the job, he goes, well, why don't you get another set of pavers and we could just do a little walkway along the side. Now,
What's that one?
that's the side of the house.
If I looked at your house, that would be on
That's
the...
I'm sorry, that's the back of the house. That was the back of the house. Now, what would happen is the foundation was so low, too, there's some pictures there, that if you look at them, to try to get the lawnmower or weed whacker up to to close to the house, it actually ripped up by accident part of the siding.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to show how far away from the foundation it was. It was like 4 feet. That's the pavement.
That's showing what, that's 4 foot from where?
The house itself over on the neighbor's side without the driveway. Yeah, that's just laying on top of the sand. We just laid them down so I didn't have to worry about, cutting the grass that close to the house.
Okay.
So,
I'm just going to let the board take a quick look. I
Yeah.
got to bring them down this side as well, and then we may have some questions. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Mr. Hollihan what the variances are, okay?
yeah.
Mr. Hollihan?
Thank you, Chairman. So the applicant is requesting one variance for the driveway setback at 3 feet where 5 feet is required from the side yard property line, as long as another one for the driveway for a 0-foot setback from the rear yard property line where 5 feet is also required. An additional variance for the concrete walkway that was installed 0 feet from the side yard property line where 3 feet is required. And then the last variance is one for the deficiency in minimum landscape area ratio, which is at 30.79%, where 45% is required.
That's a total of 4, correct?
Yes.
My only question, Chairman, was the setbacks on the driveway and on the walkway. I think when we previously done these, they've done them as that portion of it at least as design waivers.
Yes, yep.
So I
came-
think the application more clearly would be like 1 for the landscape area ratio, and the remaining would just be design waivers if the board were to act favorably. Does that sound right?
Correct, yes, because the board started doing that after I had wrote this. then-
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
The
you're correct.
LAR is a variance, and the others are design waivers.
Correct, yep. A variance for the LAR, variance for the side yard setback for the walkway, and then essentially 1 or 2 design,
Two for the driveway.
2 design waivers for the driveway.
Okay, we're on the same page. Thank you.
Mr. Hollihan, when you were there, let me ask the applicant, it's not fair to ask you, where does the water flow to? When it rains,
Yeah.
what happens to the water?
Water just goes right in the yard.
Whose yard?
Mine. Yeah, I don't have any problem with drainage or anything.
Well, you're on the lot line, I believe, right?
With the concrete,
Yeah, to your neighbor.
yeah. No, I came down, I saw Mr. Halland one time with my neighbor who was directly across, right next door. I never do anything without referring it to, my neighbor.
Okay, so
And
the water does not flow onto his property?
not, maybe a little bit. It actually might have
The water
flowed
doesn't flow
more.
onto his
It
property
might
at all
have- It might have flowed more at one time. At one time, it actually did flow more because it came down the street into the driveway and his property, whereas now, the water just goes straight down the street, that rolls down the street. And
Coming
from
out towards the,
Yeah, it's like a hill.
Okay.
Brookside Avenue.
Dan, could you make a guesstimate? Would that
I have
be accurate?
not personally been at this site, so I wouldn't want to speak on kind of if he's at a higher elevation than his neighbor or vice versa.
You're saying that it would run away towards the front of your home?
Yeah, right now, the driveway, my driveway is not pitched going towards his house at all.
Okay.
It's actually going front and back, it's coming, it's hard to explain. It's not pitched his way, it's either level or
You
might
could use
be.
that envelope as your lot.
If this is my driveway,
Just leave it.
instead of being
yeah,
pitched
right.
like this,
Okay.
it would be pitched a little bit coming,
Front of the house.
And that goes to the front of the house?
yeah.
Okay.
More, some to the front and some to the back.
Okay.
You know, we even did it with a level. I showed, he's a very good, you know, we became good friends.
Okay.
You know, I didn't want him to think I was encroaching on his property or anything, so.
Understood. I think everybody have a chance to look at the photos? Okay.
You said your neighbor's property's higher than yours.
No, it comes that, as you're coming down the street, the neighbor to the right of me is higher than mine. So when it rains, there's no retaining wall there. That you sort of pay, that was after a month. After a year, it goes all the way up to the house.
Okay.
I had to go out there with a shovel and try to shovel it away, and then you have to cut the grass and weed whack it. So with the extra pavers, we just laid them down, so to stop it.
No water's discharging towards your neighbor?
No,
Okay.
no.
Very good.
I wish I could have brought him here. He would've-
That's okay. I'm going to go questions on my left. I'll start with Mr. Rizzo.
Satisfied?
Mr. Stoner? Mr. Scogno?
The PVC pipe fence, is that yours?
No,
Microphone.
no.
The fence? that
No,
was-
the fence was
He
mine.
installed it? Your neighbor?
Not the neighbor now, the neighbor before that, I believe, the one who got the permits to cut the trees down. He bought the house, the woman who was there passed away. He bought the house, he owned the fence company, from what I believe. This is what he told me, I always saw his truck there. He told me he was cutting down trees because the trees were diseased and they were causing a lot of, they were causing a lot of problems. So with that, he asked me, he goes, do you mind if I put a fence up? I said, by all means, go right ahead. So he wanted to let me know, as you could see in the prior photo, when the trees were on the property, I had to take the fence down. My girlfriend got poison ivy because I couldn't hop over the fence to do it, so the weeds and trees destroyed the fence. So I said, well, I'm taking the fence down, that part, this way at least I could maintain that property.
And it's right on the property line, that fence?
The fence was, actually, the woman who owned the house, she told me that the fence, I owned the foot past that fence.
There you go.
So, when I first bought the house, it was a little over 20 years ago. So, I said, okay, I took the fence down because it was actually destroyed anyway with the trees, roots, and everything else.
Okay.
So when he
Thank you.
came and he said that, he had to cut the trees down and he was selling the property, would I mind putting the fence up? I said, go right ahead.
It was nicely done, though. The whole
Yeah,
driveway.
no, thank you. Yeah, I just didn't know it created such a problem. I wish I would have came down for that. I really didn't know you needed it for a driveway,
That's okay.
You're
You're here now, it's fine.
Yeah, no, but I never thought I'd have
Let
to
me see if
go.
any of the other board members have any questions. Ms. Andrews? Ms. Testaverde? Counselor?
In order to make this compliant with the setbacks on the sidewalk and on the driveway and for the minimum landscape area ratio, you would actually need to pull up all that nice brickwork that you did there, right? In order to, if you had to try to make it fit with what the township requires.
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah. Like I was saying, I didn't think it'd create a problem. And on the driveway side, you honestly have to park on part of that concrete. If I would have, it was turning into mud. It was just the tire tracks were creating grooves, and it was actually a hazard. I mean, her mother and my friend's wife, they basically slipped and they all hurt their ankles.
So you would agree that if you for whatever reason, if you had to try to, if you didn't have a variance, you would, in order to make this fit, now that you kind of know what the setbacks are, it would create a hardship for you to meet that requirement.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Okay, anything else you want to tell us?
No, that's,
I have to go to a public portion, okay?
Yes.
Like I did before. This matter 7-2024Z, location is 474 Brookside Avenue. It's to legitimize a driveway and pavers. Does anyone here in the courtroom wish to be heard on this matter? Please raise your hand or stand. No one has. I'll close the public portion. You have any final comments, sir? I think you're going to be in trouble for bringing her in and not allowing her to come up to the front. But you'll have to deal with that on your own.
I know.
Any final comments, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. It's pretty clear to the board. We've seen these matters before. You did do a nice job, I must say. It's,
Thank you.
And I'm glad that the water's not going on anybody else's property.
No, really,
And you've solved your own
whatever-
problems. So
yeah.
let's see what the board says. We'll see if they act favorably on your vote, okay?
Okay.
This is going to be 2 design waivers. We'll do the C1 first, and then we'll follow up the 2 design waivers. The C1 is for the landscape area ratio, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. Anybody in favor of
C1, move it, Scogno.
Scogno?
Testaverde, second.
Testaverde seconds. Roll call, please. That's the C1.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, and now we have, actually, it's 3 design waivers, I believe. Yeah, both sides and the back. Someone want to move the design waivers for the,
I'll move it. Chevalier?
roll call, please?
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. Thank you very much for appearing. You did a nice job, and you improved your own property, and you probably,
Yeah, I tried to.
you make the neighborhood better as well, so.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for appearing. Make sure you get any permits that you need.
Do I need my, do you still need the photos, or?
We have his pictures, they become evidence,
Okay.
all right?
Thank you.
All right, sir.
Good luck.
All right, next matter on the agenda this evening is 6-2024Z. It's Timothy Harutanen. Come on up, sir. I'm sure I got that wrong, but you can correct it when you... This is R7 Zone Block 18086, Lot 142, 71 Appleby Avenue in Old Bridge. Home rehab and addition, C variance. Applicant proposes a rehabilitation in addition to an existing one-story single-family dwelling. The proposed side yard setback is 3, where 10 minimum is required. The proposed front yard setback is 13 along Appleby Avenue and 23.5 along Ernest Road, where 25 minimum respectively is required. The proposed addition is 2.5 foot from the existing frame garage, where 3 minimum is required. Sir, would you state your name and the board attorney will swear you in?
Yeah, it's Timothy Harratunian.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
It's been butchered my whole life, so it doesn't faze me.
Just raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, put your hand down. Thank you.
Well, you should be experienced now. You saw 2 before you. So it's the same rules apply. We're just going to ask you to tell us.
I'm a police
what you
officer
did.
as well, so I'm used to these.
If you have any pieces of evidence or anything you'd like to show the board, obviously it has to go to the board attorney first.
Understand.
And he'll let the board view it if it's evidentiary, if it has evidentiary value. Tell us where you're at, sir.
Okay, yes, so 71 Appleby Avenue, it's my childhood home. A few years back, unfortunately, I lost my father unexpectedly, and I was able to obtain the house. Growing up in a house, it's a very small house, it's a very old house, built in 1932. There was 5 of us in that house, and how we did it, I'm not quite sure, but we did. I moved away for a short while, moved up to North Jersey, up to the Phillipsburg area, and couldn't wait to come back. I had a son, came back, he turned 5, and I knew where he was going to school. I said he's coming back down to Old Bridge, he's going to Southwood School, where I went and everything. It's always been a dream of mine to rehab my childhood home. I said 12, 13 years old, I said, this house is never going to leave my possession. You know, it's never going to leave the family name. And now I have an opportunity to rehab it and add on a little bit, and it's exciting, to be able to do that for my childhood home. I love the neighborhood. I love the town. I'm a volunteer first aider. I'm a life member with Old Bridge Red and White. My son plays sports in town here, and it's been wild to see him ride his bike where I used to ride my bike, crash his bike where I used to crash my bike. So
Like father, like son.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The dead end street. We were lucky enough to live on the corner of the dead end street, so it's a lot of the neighbors are still there from when I grew up. So now they're seeing my son run up and down the street, and they love it. They come out just to watch him ride his bike up and down the street. It's actually it's been really cool. It's been really neat to see it all. So unfortunately, the house this was built back in the 30s. It's so maybe offsets and some other stuff didn't really apply back then, and the house was kind of built on the property crooked. So instead of being symmetrical, when we designed it the first time, my architect, for whatever reason, I don't know why, he used my family's survey that they got back in 1980 when they moved in. Well, that's 1980. That's way outdated the way things are now, and that's this one is way more advanced than the one that we have from 1980. The problem is because of the sideways, trying to get what we wanted to do to fit. We tried reconfiguring as much as we can, but no matter which way we turned the house, no matter which way we were off. It might have been a couple inches over here, might have been a few feet over here. We just couldn't get it to fit on the lot, and so after going back and forth, changing some stuff, this is where we're at. Coming for the variances, applying for the variances, because I don't know what else we could do to get it to fit without tearing it down. And I was strictly against tearing that down, because that house, it's more than just a house to me. That's my childhood home.
It's understood. Let's see what Mr. Hollihan has to say, okay?
Before that, I just have one question for the applicant. The plans that we see, Maureen, can you go to the one with the proposed on it? My question, when you first submitted these plans to the building department back in 2023, have they changed since then?
I gotta see which ones you have up there.
Hold on, Jenny.
It was the plot plan, Maureen.
Oh, it was the plot?
Yep. The only reason I ask is the numbers that I have on my denial differ a little bit from what this plot plan shows. So
If it should be the up-to-date version. If not, the only thing that was adjusted was the garage. We made the garage shorter to try to get it to fit.
Okay.
So we shrunk it a little bit to try to get it off the property line.
Okay.
But I think we're still a couple inches shy.
Gotcha.
With
Yep.
that.
Yep. Okay. So yeah.
I'm sorry. The plans were submitted also. So I don't know if you guys have them on this file or not. Okay, so they're there too.
Gotcha.
The most current ones.
Okay. So yeah, Chairman, based off the plans that are presented in front of the board, it differs a little bit from my denial as far as the numbers. They still require the same variances, so I'll go through what he requires. For the side yard, he's proposing 7.4 feet, where 10 feet minimum is required. For the front yard along Appleby, he's proposing 12 feet, where 25 feet is required. For the front yard along Ernest, he's proposing 21.3 feet, where 25 feet is required. And then the last variance remains the same, where it's 2.5 feet from the existing garage, where 3 feet is required.
Just to touch on the garage, the existing garage that's going to be torn down. That's as soon as we have the opportunity. That's not going to be there.
It's going to be torn down?
Yeah, that should be updated also. You should have that as well too. That's going to be torn down, the old garage.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't reflect that on the plan, but if that's the case and you want to put that on the record, Chairman, that would alleviate him from that last variance.
And it is.
Yeah, that garage is going to be torn down.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Anything else, Dan?
No, that's it, Chairman.
So
Thank
for
you.
clarity, he won't need the 2.5 foot garage.
Correct, yes, if that garage is
Just the
removed.
3.
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
What's next to you? You're on the corner lot.
Right.
So what's next to you on Appleby?
It's one residence, and there's a residence behind me, and those are the only
And what's in between you?
driveway. Both driveways actually for both properties. So both driveways are between.
There's no fence?
There is a fence. There is a fence. It's the property owner next to me. His fence.
To run the length of the drive?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll go to my left. Start with Mr. Izzo, if you have anything.
No.
Mr. Stoner?
No.
Mr. Scogno? Vice Chairman? Counselor?
You kind of went through this on your own, but obviously it sounds like you've tried several different configurations to modify and add on to what's already there, kind of preserving the bones of the house, as it were. And every configuration that you've looked at, you haven't been able to come up with one that'll work, correct? So in order to comply with the zoning ordinances here, it would be a hardship. You'd basically have to tear the house down to try to to put what you're looking to do within the meets and bounds that are required by the township, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Were some of these irregularities there before he even went to do this?
As far as what?
The setback?
Yeah, so the front yard actually exists at, I think, 12.8 feet.
Right.
So if he were to continue and leave it kind of at that 12 feet, he may not require a variance, but because he's creating a further deficiency, he requires a new variance.
Yeah, well, as he opened up in his statement, it's canted on the lot. They didn't set it perfectly, and I think that one would have existed either way, I would say.
If the house wasn't kind of skewed the way it was and it was more situated in the center of the lot, he probably wouldn't be here tonight, so.
Wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah, okay. I have to go to a public portion on this, all right? This is matter 6-2024Z, the physical location, 71 Appleby Avenue. This is for home rehab and addition. Does anyone here in the courtroom wish to be heard on this matter? Please stand or raise your hand. No one has reacted to that. I'll assume the public is not interested, and I'll close the public portion. Any final comments, sir?
I just had one question for my contractor. He's also present with me, sitting in the back there. If there was any technical questions I couldn't answer, he's the man back there. But he
You did a great job.
He wanted to know if I could submit to the building department prior to the formal, you know what?
Resolution?
Andy? Resolution? I knew I was.
Resolution? You're not going to get the resolution until the next meeting.
Okay,
That's probably what he wants to know, if he can start.
okay. Yeah, I wrote it down and I knew I was gonna.
The question was, can I go to the building department with my?
You can take that up.
I can answer.
Take that up with Mr. Holohan after we vote. All right?
I can answer it real quick.
Go ahead.
There's nothing that stops you from presenting those plans and submitting them as part of the application. It's just my office personally can't review and approve it until the resolution is memorialized and signed. So if you want to get ahead of the game, sure. It doesn't give you really any benefit. Because I can't review it until that resolution is memorialized and signed, should the board act favorably. Mm-hmm.
Then it's just a technicality, so I can, because it takes quite some time to obtain the permits.
Gotcha.
So if I had the whole package, the proper package in, according to what everybody voted on tonight, it would kind of be a nice smooth sale.
My recommendation to you, until you get the resolution in your hand, hold off on submitting anything.
Okay. Having said that, why don't we take a vote? This is going to be, we can do all three, correct, Mr. Clancy?
Yeah, they're all bulk variants, yep.
Yep. For the side yard, 7.4 where 10 required, front yard 12 where 25 is required, and the front on the opposite street is 21.3 where 25 is required. The fourth one will not be necessary. It's been alleviated. Someone interested in moving them as a bulk?
Andrews, move it.
Is there a second?
Izzo?
Verdi.
I think Mr. Izzo beat you to that one. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
I was impressed by the story. I can't believe that you really wanted to do this. I mean, to come back and your roots, this is where your roots are, and this is where you want them to be, and you want them to your family. That's admirable and heartwarming in many ways. My vote is certainly yes, and the best luck on your.
Always bled Old Bridge, always through and through.
That's great, and it'll make that investment even more special to you. Thank you for appearing. It should be ready by the next meeting,
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
which is June 6th. All right?
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks for appearing. Okay, our next item is 14-2024Z, Lisa Lynch. This is R20, low, medium density residential. This is block 12261, lot 22, Physical location, 202 Morganville Road in Manawan for a pole barn. Applicant proposes to construct a 40 by 30 pole barn to store cars and motorcycles. Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
please state your name, the board attorney will swear you in.
Lisa Lynch?
Just raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lynch, this is your home?
Yes.
Okay, and you reside there?
Yes.
Okay. The same applies. Why don't you tell us what you're doing, why you want to do it?
I just basically want to get a garage. We don't have a garage. There's like a shed in the back that I think used to be, the house was built in, I think, 55, so it used to be like a horse barn. So like, you know, we could put stuff in there, but it's got like barn doors. Other than that, we got like a U-shaped driveway. That's where we park our cars, and I'd like to keep them out of the weather and our motorcycles out of the weather. And then there's like there's a driveway that goes along the side. It used to be an old road. So it would be easier. I got 2 teenage boys that are driving now. Pulling out of our driveway is kind of a pain because we're like right at the crest of below the crest of the hill on Morganville Road. So, you know, it's kind of like you're taking a chance when you pull out because people come flying over the hill, even though it's only a 25-mile-an-hour road. They just fly on that road. It's like a main road.
What's the height of this building?
I think it's going to be like almost 24 feet. We want to use the upstairs for storage. Our house is like 1,300 square feet, so we got 2 teenage boys that, you know, got a lot of junk and hockey equipment and stuff like that, so kind of want to
Will
use.
you be using it as living space?
No.
And you go on the record for that, right? On the
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah, yeah.
resolution, it won't be used for,
Yeah.
should there be favorable vote?
Right.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us?
No, I mean, we want to just keep our vehicles out of the weather, out of the elements, our lawn equipment, all that stuff that, you know, we'd like to protect, you know.
This drawing, this isn't on pilings, right? I mean, is that just the way they drew this?
Say that one more time, Chairman?
It looks like it's like lifted up on the picture. Yeah, those-
That's to kind of show the footings. Yep.
Mr. Holland?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so the applicant is here tonight requesting 2, possibly 3 variances, because I do have a question. It's going to be a second full story?
I just know attic trusses. That's what my husband kept saying. We want attic trusses just for the weight up top, I
Okay.
guess.
Do you know roughly how much headroom? Because it didn't indicate that on the architectural plans. I just assumed it was 1 story.
I think to the peak, it was like 10 feet, I believe.
Okay.
But it's only like 15, it's a room that would be like 15 feet wide, I think.
Okay.
I think the guy said that it would be half of the width of what the garage is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chairman, I believe off the top of my head, that would constitute a second story, where accessory structures are only permitted 1 story or 1.5 stories. So with that being said, the first variance that they are requesting is for the structure size of an accessory building, where they're proposing a 40 by 30, which is 1,200 square feet, where 600 maximum is permitted. A height of 23 feet where a maximum of 15 feet is permitted, and then 2 stories where a maximum of 1.5 stories is permitted.
We don't have, factually have the dimensions and the size. Because you made it 2 stories, you understand, you can't do that for an accessory structure.
Right.
1.5 is the limit. So now you're asking for something that may or may not belong on the property.
Right. So could I just go for another variance, like you said? I mean, I
We'd
know
like
it
to,
was
we'd like to
less.
actually see, we'd actually like to see the drawing or the
Well, that was
dimensions.
the exact, that's the
Well, I
exact.
see the drawing, but
yeah.
it doesn't come with dimensions.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. think you're going to have to supply a little bit more information with the actual drawing and the calculations.
Okay, well, that, I mean, that shows the height there. I mean, it's, the sidewalls would be 12 foot, which show on the side, and then another 10 foot to the peak. It's just, I mean, it's a basic square, square, it's just walls, and that's showing, that was it, it's going up.
Chairman, looking at the definitions of our ordinance of what constitutes a story, it's when any portion is at least 6 feet at any elevation point. So without seeing more detailed architecturals on the inside of the building, I can't confidently say whether or not it's a story. I'm just kind of going based off what she's testifying, that it's 10 feet, which would definitely constitute an additional full story.
So you'd like to see the full architecturals, right?
I mean, I think I'd leave that up to the discretion of the board. But if we're going to rely on the applicant's testimony, then it would be an additional variance request for a 2-story building where 1.5 is permitted.
Mr. Clancy?
I agree with the assessment here. It looks like, basically, clearly on the definition, it's going to be more than 6 feet is the story.
Right.
If it's 10 feet to the peak, even on the outside, we're still looking at something more than 6 feet on the inside. So I think you're at 2 stories there. So I think it would require the additional variance. I see that there has been some measurements that have been provided, at least the packet that I have. Looks like it's a 30 by 40 structure on each side, and we have a height measurement. It's not very detailed, but ultimately it'll be up to the board to decide if they have enough information that they feel comfortable with, or if perhaps they want to maybe ask for some additional submissions, or unless you can elicit something else through testimony that would satisfy the board.
You have no further paperwork, you have no,
No, I mean, I asked from the beginning, I didn't, the plans for it, they said it would be like $2,000, so I didn't want to pay for plans, if I don't know it's going to get approved or not.
this is you're calling it a pole barn, it's not built from stick, right? This is probably.
It's a pole barn. Yeah, it's a pole barn.
So they
They
don't,
said, this was the plans they sent me. They said there's I forget what they said. I mean, I haven't been dealing with this because I've been waiting I forget what it was called when they wanted the more detailed drawings. They said, I thought it was simple. I thought, they're pretty basic. You could just send them over, but they said, no, it would be like $2,000 in order to do that.
does that sound right?
Depends on the company, but some companies will have generic architecturals because they sell kind of one pre-built building. Some of them will charge you for drawings that they may or may not do at that time, or may just be generic. It depends on the company.
Right, yeah, I think it was a smaller company I was working with. It wasn't like a big company that, mass produces them.
Let's see what questions the board may have. I'll start on my left. Mr. Rizzo.
Vehicles, you said, how many vehicles?
Well, my one son just got a vehicle a year ago. It's for a 3-car garage, but my husband has a Corvette, which he keeps in that garage with the barn doors, and our motorcycles are in there. So anytime we want to take our motorcycles out, you got to move the Corvette to get the motorcycles out, to put the Corvette back in. And then, I got a daily driver, and I got our hockey vehicle. We have a few vehicles. We do have vehicles, so they're always up front, which is another thing, when we go away, people know we're away because our same vehicles are up front. So when we're gone for the whole weekend, it's pretty obvious that we're not
Then
there.
For height, you have a desire for height, that you want it that high?
Well, just for easier storage, I guess, just to bring stuff. I don't know if anybody ever goes down Morganville Road, but during Christmas time, I have a ton of lights. That I like my outside decorations, storage. My house is really small. I don't have, I'm actually looking forward to it because then I could change my wardrobe out and put my buckets of sweaters up there, right? it's a 1,300 square foot house, so we like don't have any closet space, anything like that. So it's kind of, you know, and as your kids get older, stuff accumulates, and you know, just looking forward
Is
to
there
it.
electric run into that?
We don't plan on doing it right away. Eventually, we just want to like put our cars and our equipment and
Store.
lawn stuff. Yeah, we just want to get all that. That's our main focus, is our cars and motorcycles, and you know, keep them locked up. You know,
I don't think you answered the question. He asked you if there's going to be electric in it.
I guess down the road we would like to put electric. Yeah.
I'm sure he's following it up with another question.
Okay.
No, I'll leave it for you guys.
Plumbing would be next. Plumbing.
Oh, no, there's not,
No water?
definitely not plumbing.
No
No,
water?
no. It's not even gonna be like close to the house. It's kind of like, our side yard is kind of pretty wide, and there's a driveway that goes, there's a stone driveway that's on the side of the house. It used to be an old road there. So we're gonna have the entrance to come in there. It's not like it's super close to the, like, yeah, no, there's no plumbing.
Mimicking your house? Pitch-wise and things like that, would it replicate? Would it fit? Would it look
Yeah.
appealing?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a small ranch. It's like, it's a really small house.
Mr. Stoner.
No, I don't have any questions.
All right. Mr. Scogno? Vice Chairman.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious why you can't keep it to 1.5 stories.
I guess I could. We just figured it was, you know, easier.
It's excessive,
to
though. It's
walk-
only 100 square feet smaller than your home.
Yeah.
Technically, it could be considered another residence if you closed in those, garage doors.
Right.
You can just keep it right in there with the 1.5 stories. Still a lot of storage.
Right.
And then it can never be converted into a living space.
Right. I guess it's easier being able to walk up there, going in our attic, which is, I guess the peak is probably like 5-6 feet, and, you're always kind of crunched down when you're up there. I mean, it would be nice to just be able to store everything and kind of walk easily. I mean, I guess my whole thing is we're going this far, why? I mean, at the time, I didn't know you were only allowed, I mean, I talked to Danny quite a few times in there. I didn't know you were only allowed to go 6 feet high, I knew we were getting a variance to go higher. I just didn't know now you're going 2-story instead of 1.5. This is the first I'm even hearing of it, so.
You keeping the other shed that you have?
Yeah, that's an old barn. Yeah, it's my husband's a mechanic, so he's got toolboxes in there and all his tool equipment, and and that's kind of another reason he wants to clear that out to be able to work on what he likes to work on.
Okay, but you're not going to be using it for a machine shop?
No.
Any type of commercial activity?
No.
It is quite a big loft, if you will.
Yeah.
Ms. Andrews?
No, I just think it's another residence. It's one thing, to have a pole barn and have some storage above there.
Right.
But you might as well put a second story on your own house and then just make a flat-top garage. That's just a suggestion, but I can't see putting something that's another, it's another home, really.
Right.
Same height as another home.
Right.
Probably higher than your home. Thank you.
Testaverde, anything? Counselor?
Is there any issue with the second accessory building? Do they need a variance for that in this zone?
No, our ordinance doesn't limit the amount of accessory buildings.
Anything else?
No.
Let me go to the public before we deal with this. This is 14-2024Z, 202 Morganville Road, for a pole barn. Anyone here in the room wish to be heard? Please raise your hand or stand. There's only 2 people in the room, neither has. I'll close the public portion. I think the board needs to see some more detail. I fear that if you ask me for a vote right now, it may not be favorable. It's just a feeling I have. You can do what you wish, and you can ask me to take a vote, but I think there's too many unclear issues that need to be cleared up. So I think more detail of that structure, as Ms. Andrews said, it's literally the size of your house.
Right.
And just so you're aware, the board really can only vote on this type of an application once. So one option would be you can ask the board to continue this, okay? Which basically you would come back at another meeting. And in the meantime, maybe you could work with our professionals here and kind of see if maybe there's a way where you could bring it a little more into compliance or revise your submissions to kind of answer some of the questions. Because what the chairman is just pointing out to you is if you want them to have a vote tonight and the vote does not go through in your favor, you can't come back with the same application again.
Right.
You only kind of get like one crack at it. So, you know, it's entirely up to you. It's your application. But
Now-
I just want you to have the most information.
Well, so tonight I could say, okay, well, I'll just do the 1.5 stories and we could vote on that, or like, are we, instead of the 2-story?
Well, I think the issue that you run into there is what you're now proposing is kind of different from what you've submitted. And I would expect that you would probably need to have that conversation with the person who's designing the structure for you, because if you lower the 2nd story, it's going to change the pitch of the roof. So it may require, the pitch may be so low that they may need to actually bring the building in a little bit. So it might change the whole application. I just don't know that you have enough information in front of you to be able to make that kind of decision. So, but again, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. I just want to caution you, if the vote does not go in your favor, you can't come back with the same application again. So just keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah, in a way, I'm trying to protect you
Yeah.
from losing it. I get one vote, the other members get one vote. I don't know how it's going to go. But if you lose the vote, as Counselor said, you can't bring that back again. So I think you lose nothing but probably another month or so by bringing more information and working with Mr. Holohan to see if you can bring this into a little bit of order. In that way, if there's an amendment, we'll have time to see that change.
And keep in mind that it's not like everything you said tonight goes away. The board's already heard everything you've had to say. If
Right.
you're just making a minor revision, you could come back before the board again and just say, hey, I listened to what the board said, I've met with the professionals, and this is kind of what the additional information, or this is how I've changed the application. So, you know, just food for thought.
Yeah. Shoot.
And I'll also just point out, just because I know you're not here with an attorney who can tell you kind of all this stuff.
Right.
If you ask the board for a continuation of the application, meaning that we kind of go timeout for now, we come back on another day, the board can carry this without you having to notify everybody again. You don't have to do that. That process doesn't happen again. I'm sure you had to notify all your neighbors within 200 feet, and I know there's some expense associated with that.
Right.
You wouldn't have to do that if the board granted a continuance without additional notification, which they do routinely here. So.
Right. But then you're saying I got to come back with, like, I guess my whole thing is if I change it, I guess I'm a little confused at, like, am I coming back with this same thing, just a more detailed plan, or I have to change, I have to go for the 1.5, because it seems like,
Well, we can't give you legal advice from up here, and the board can't, give you any other feedback really than they've already given you based on the testimony that you've provided. But what you are permitted to do in the time between, if you were to ask for a continuance, what you or anybody else could do in that time would be to meet with the township professionals and kind of review with them steps you might be able to take that might limit the amount of variances you need, or maybe able to provide some additional submissions at the suggestion of the professionals that might provide more clarity to the board or something along those lines. So there are folks who can help you out, and I know here in Old Bridge they're very helpful. with that stuff, and they're more than willing to work with you. But the board, they're kind of like judges in a court. They can only hear what comes in through testimony and what comes in through submissions. The professionals can talk to you back and forth about, maybe some changes you might be thinking about, or some additional submissions you may want to put in. They're very helpful with that kind of stuff, but the board can't do that. And as the board attorney, I'm not allowed to give you legal advice. I'm just trying to give you general information.
Right, right. Now, you're saying if I asked for this to be voted on tonight, and let's say it is declined, I can't come back with another, okay, I want to put a pole barn up this size, but then go the 1.5 story, I mean.
It would have to be substantially different than what you've already applied for here, because once it's denied, you can't come back with essentially the same application.
Okay, I'll go for the continuance.
Yeah, I think that might be in your best interest. Again, you're not losing anything except maybe another month or so of time.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you'll be able to speak to Mr. Holohan and perhaps outside sources to do that. I just fear that from the presentation tonight, and there may not be enough members here would vote in your favor.
Right, right,
And I wouldn't say that to you unless I thought that.
okay.
All right, so I'm just trying to give you the best advice. Mr. Clancy, as our counsel, also is trying to give you the best advice.
Right.
So continuance costs you nothing except a little time.
Okay, all right.
And you'll have a little bit more time to, go ahead.
You can have accurate numbers for like maybe reducing the height of the ceiling, so it doesn't look, because technically, there's been things denied here in homes because of the same thing, of the height of what an attic would have been.
Right.
Which could have been technically considered another room or a story.
Right, right.
So and it could save you money.
Yeah, no, I know that'll save a lot of money. It's a big,
We're not trying to be mean or anything.
yeah,
And, you should kind of try and be in compliance. You're actually doubling the size of what's allowed.
right, right,
And you're only 100 square feet smaller than your house.
right, yeah. Okay.
Kind of see the difference.
Yeah.
And like I said, just the measurements and stuff too can make a huge difference with the vote.
Okay. All right.
All right, that's the best advice we can give you at this
Okay.
point, and we will allow a continuance, obviously. It'll be scheduled. I don't know, you'll have to get back to the zoning division to see when we can, the zoning department, I should say, to see when we can put it on the schedule again.
Okay.
But in the meantime, you can get some of the variables maybe straightened out.
Okay,
All right?
all right.
Well, thank you for your appearance tonight.
All right,
I'm
thank you.
sorry that we can't act on it tonight.
No, that's
I
all
don't
right.
think it's in your best interest.
Yeah. Okay.
Chairman, that's going to be carried without further.
Right, it would be carried, no further notice. You won't have to notice
Okay.
in the 200-foot zone.
All right.
All right? And you can be in contact as to when it'll come back on the schedule.
Okay.
All right? This is 14-2024Z, 202 Morganville Road. This matter is going to be continued with no further notice, date to be set. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, that is the end of our agenda this evening, board members. Other council, do you have anything to relay to the board?
No, we'll have 3 resolutions for next meeting ready to go.
Okay. There's only one person in here for general public comments. Sir, would you be interested? No? Okay. In that case, I'll close general public comments for the evening. And Ms. Burchelli, June 6th is the next, right?
Correct.
Okay, anything from the township that we need to know? Okay. Well, I wish everybody safe, healthy holidays, which will be coming up Memorial Day next weekend. So do be safe and enjoy.
You as well.
Having said that, so, no. You never know, that's right. Someone move for an adjournment?
I'll move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.